Spotlighting. Spotlighting.
He is.
I was. Am I?
You are.
Oh, good. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the kitchen. I want to show you, I'd like to try and show a piece of equipment that I have that I really like. The one I really like is the KitchenAid. You'll get to see that. But I have a microplane. No, not an aeroplane that's small, a microplane. I love my microplane. Good for nutmeg and good for zesting. Very good for zesting. Everybody needs one of those. I only just bought that this year. I've never had one. I've always just done other things, but I decided I wanted one. Welcome. I'm putting on my Tart today. I was going to put makeup on, lipstick and stuff, but I thought, well, no, don't do that. People will expect it every week that way. So I decided not to. So I've had to do some of the stuff already, like make the pastry and let it rest for half an hour. Otherwise, we'd be standing around here and or sitting around. No one wants to do that. So I blind baked my Tart case. There it is. So I blind baked it. I made the pastry.
What's a blind bake?
Sorry?
What's a blind bake?
I do it and hope for the best. So what I do is to blind bake, I put some baking paper down, and I use rice on top of the baking paper just to stop the pastry puffing up. So I just use brown rice, and it's called 3 Blind Mice rice. Our daughter did the tag for that. And also, something else to show you, just go to the pantry. When we moved into the house, we went and bought storage containers for the big pantry, and our daughter has called the icing sugar cocaine. So if we ever get raided, we're in trouble. And she also named the self-raising flour that doesn't need any help.
Helpless for her.
That's the last time we let her label things in our kitchen. So what we've done is I've blind baked the pastry, and I had a little bit left over. So I've got some of these individual little pie tarts, and I'm going to make caramelised nut tarts with those for Ruth and I over the weekend. Because if I put the pastry in the freezer, I'll forget it's there, then I'll find it in 6 months and go, ooh, yeah, throw it out. So the pastry is as in the recipe. The only thing to remember, and those of you that do a lot of cooking will know this, when it comes to hydration of flour when you throw the iced water in, sometimes you'll need less, sometimes you'll need more, so never put it all in at once. It just depends on the temperature, it depends on a whole bunch of stuff. It depends whether the flour's, I just use an all-purpose flour, but if it's got a bit of strong flour or something in it, a bit more protein, it might suck a bit more of the water out. So I put the butter in first and just get it to like breadcrumb consistency, or the butter and the salt. And then I add in the egg yolk, and then I add the water bit by bit. And if I need to, I add another little bit of water just till it all comes together. Then I work it a little bit, not too much, because you can overwork pastry. I do it in the food processor, not in the mixer. I wrap it in plastic and it sits in the fridge for half an hour. And then it's much more easy to manage. So that's that part of it. So on to the filling, which I'm going to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move over to my cutting board, and I'm going to squeeze lime and lemon, 1/3 of a cup each. I think that's about 80 ml, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm just using a cup measure. And I've zested, I didn't do this last time, but I don't mind things being a bit tangy, so I've zested half a lime and half a lemon, and I'll throw the lemon zest in for the filling as well. So, here we go, way over here. I use one of these. I don't use a squeezy thing, I use one of these. I like these. Put the half in, squeeze it, throw the rest out. So, 1/3 of a cup of lemon juice, and these lemons are really small but really juicy. So I don't know, I've allowed for 3 to get 1/3 of a cup. I don't know whether I'm going to need all 3. If you're buying limes at the moment, I paid $1.20 each for mine this morning. They're a bit expensive at the moment. I don't know why. That's because I went to Aldi and not the Chinese fruit and veggie shop, because it's further up the road and I couldn't be bothered. So lemon juice, not quite, so I will need just half another lemon. Yep. So 1/3 of a cup of lemon juice into the mixing bowl. And now for 1/3 of a cup of lime juice. I love limes. We have limes and lemons in the house all the time. Mainly for cocktails. Don't tell anyone. You can't have a gin and tonic without lemons in the house, can you? No. So they're very juicy limes. I'm only going to need 1.5. Oh no, I'm going to need 2. I've got no idea what I'm talking about. So there's the 1/3 of a cup of lime juice. That goes in the mixer. The cream, the sugar, your caster sugar goes in. Don't do this too soon because you'll get a chemical reaction between the lime and the lemon juice and the cream. So just do it as you need. So the cream goes in, then that gets mixed together. So that's my zesting. And then you add the egg whites, the eggs one at a time, and just mix them in. Make sure they're mixed in. I've cracked them already into a cup. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then, voila, just tip that into your tart. I always put, this is one of those tart trays with the false bottom on it. No funny jokes about bottoms, ladies. Into a preheated oven at 190 degrees for about 20 minutes. So, and there we go. Now we wait 20 minutes and it should be done. Smells great. So there we go. We don't do much dessert in our house, and I only made that the other night because I felt like it in lockdown. But normally we'd rather have cheese. Sometimes a little bit of cheese before dinner, sometimes after dinner, sometimes not at all. But we're not really desserty people. But a tart like that is the reason we like it is because it's not overly sweet. It's got a bit of bite to it, which doesn't mean it's got cream and it's got sugar in it. Don't fool them, we're not fooling ourselves, but it is very yummy. So with that, I was going to show you my lettuce and pea soup recipe as well, which is a great way to use leftover lettuce if you've got it in the fridge. Iceberg lettuce, or what's the other one you use in the long leaf one?
Cos?
Cos, yeah. I was going to make that, but I've already got some soup in the fridge because I made some for my work colleagues the other day and they all turned their nose up at it, so I had to keep it at home. I felt really hurt and I sat in the corner in fetal position and rocked backwards and forwards. You know, well, I thought about it and got a grip of myself, so to speak. So, look, it's really simple. Oh, the other thing is I use a brush and butter the tart container before the pastry goes in so it doesn't stick. Some people use spray. I just use butter because my parents were dairy farmers and I like to support the dairy industry. Some people use unsalted butter in these things. I use salted because I didn't have any unsalted. I now do, but I also put a pinch of salt in most things that I make, like pastry and stuff, just because it helps drag the flavour out of stuff. So that's the only reason I use it. And some people won't. Some people use unsalted butter in cooking and then add salt so that they can control how much salt they go in. I've never been, if I was baking seriously, I'd probably do that more seriously, but I don't do serious baking. In the pastry, it doesn't seem to matter that much. So, yeah. So there we go. So now we wait for 20 minutes and then we get to bring it out, let it cool, and I dust it with some powder, white powder, cocaine.
Bubba, how big is your mixer? Which one is that?
That's mine's just the kitchen.
Is that
No,
the-
it's not the Ultra.
It's not the
Hang
Ultra?
on, it's the Ultra Power. I bought that. We got that. We had a subscription to Gourmet Traveller magazine when I had the catering business, and we got that. How much was it, Ruth? Just over $300. I think we paid between $300 and $400 for it as a special as subscribers to Gourmet Traveller magazine.
Well, I have a 30-year-old mixer and it's finally dying after several repairs and a rebuild.
So you've probably lived in countries where you've had brown power too, haven't you? Like we've had power surges.
It's more the fact that the last time it was packed, it was moved, they didn't put it back in its original box and it got moved on its side, so all the grease and oil went out.
Yeah, I'm funny. That'll be one of the things I move myself normally. Our TV, stereo equipment, anything like that, we tend to move ourselves.
Yeah, I can't do that
No, you
internationally, but
my knives don't leave me. I take my knives with me, and things like the mixer and stuff come with me. I don't trust anyone else with them at all.
yeah, no, yeah. It's 30 years old even with running a hard, I've got the professional one that lifts the bowl up and
we just ordered that one. And that spent the last place we lived in, I think we were there 8 years, it hardly saw the light of day in 8 years because there was nowhere to put it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now it stays up on the bench and gets used. I just look at it admiringly. I love it. It's one of my toys. Some people have lots of tools and stuff out in the shed. I don't know, I have a kitchen. So, look, I've got mixing bowls and stuff that I've had since I was 22 years old. It's just, you buy good stuff. And still, when I go to London, America, I get a discount because I buy stuff like these spatulas and stuff. I don't buy rubbishy ones. I buy good ones because they last. And so they say, oh, you must be in the trade. You pick those ones. We'll give you a discount. I never ask for it. I always just get it. So I bought my first knife from them in 1975. Cost me a week and a half's wages. It's now, my son has it. It's an F-Dick. It's a German knife. And absolutely brilliant. They make great knives. Very hard to get. They're very hard to get now. But, yeah. So in 1974, 75, I think I was earning $60 a week, and it cost me a week and a half's wages to buy the knife. So, and I've got I think I've showed you this before, but that's an F-Dick steel that the butcher I used to deal with brought me back from Germany. He was a German guy and he was going home. It's a flat steel, it's not a round one. Yeah, love it. It's great. Needs a clean. I think this. Yeah, that's an F-Dick. That's my roasting fork. That's also German. That's an F-Dick roasting fork. I had two. One's got lost somewhere. I had this straight one and one with curved tongs. And that's my carving knife, carbon steel. It's beautiful. Beautiful, works really well. And wooden handles, I don't like plastic handles. I've had that, I don't even know how long I've had that. Probably 40 years. And when you pick it up and put it in your hand, it just fits, you know that it belongs to you. Let's check the tart. Who remembers what time that went in? Must have been about 2:10, I think. 2:15, so it's still got a
Do you
bit of time.
Do you set timers?
I've got a ticky-tock clock. So yeah, I do. Sometimes I just use my phone. I did have a mechanical timer, but it died, so I threw it in the bin the other day. It was just a cheap one. I usually just use my phone.
I've had to get used to different ovens having different cooking times and being differently, and so I've gotten really good at cooking with my nose.
Yeah. Yeah, look, my first year of apprenticeship, I cooked on an SE Major stove that was fired by coal. And then when I moved to New South Wales in 1982, the first kitchen I worked in up there had an Aga that was running on diesel, then on oil, on heating oil. Then they converted it back to coal, and it was a dog of a thing to use. And I had nothing else. That was all I had for cooking for about 40 students all the time and staff. And you're right, you get used to it, because the house we lived in up there, we had a Rayburn No. 5 wood burning stove, and you just get used to it. That's what I grew up cooking on, wood stoves. Yeah, and you can get some really modern ones now that are much easier to control temperatures and stuff in. But I like electric ovens and I like gas cooktops. But in our house in New South Wales, because we had the catering business, I had a gas oven with gas oven and 4 burners on top. I had an electric oven just for cooking cakes and stuff in, and then we had the wood burning stove as well, all in the kitchen. So, yep.
Can I ask a cooking question?
Yeah.
How many eggs, and was it egg yolks or the full egg? And what was the other question? Well, that's the first question.
Yeah, they were full eggs and they were 5.
Full eggs, okay.
Yep. Yep. All the whole bit went in. And the pastry's just an egg yolk.
Yeah, that's fine.
And normally I've been freezing my egg whites, but I had 10 of them in the fridge the other day, and I made two pavlovas, and we don't eat pavlova. We had one as an exception. The other one sat out on the bench for over a week, and then I just tossed it. So much sugar in it. I mean, I understand why people like them. I just, too sweet for me. So I didn't bother freezing these ones. I don't like throwing them out, but you figure, what do you do with them? You know, you can only keep them for so long.
You can make a face mask.
Does this face need a face mask? Yeah, don't answer that.
Well, you can.
Yeah, Sean could do with one, couldn't he? I'm still looking at him there.
All I can see is his little boobies going up and down. When you get closer.
This is a family show.
I forgot about that. Oh, well.
Yeah. Yes, that's
You
sort of
gotta laugh
showing
at
on
something.
TikTok. Yeah, look, it's a really simple thing. Of course, the issue is now we'll have to eat this. So we'll force ourselves.
It's a hard knock life for
Yeah,
some.
sure.
It's a hard knock life for some.
Sean, how far to nowhere are you?
10k in.
Okay.
Where are you going today? Hey, that's twice your limit, mate.
I know.
You're turning around now.
I should.
Peter,
Yes.
when you said you mixed it, is it the egg yolks and the lime and the lemon juice and the zest and the sugar? Did you just mix it, or did the cream thicken a bit? Or it wouldn't much with the lime juice and stuff on it. It was just, does the sugar, the granules of sugar disappear, or is it just as is?
Yeah, that's all you do. So the acid would do that from the lemon and lime juice. It would disappear pretty quick. So I just throw the cream, the sugar, and the liquid in, the juice in, mix it together, and then it's just the eggs you add one at a time. Yep.
Right.
Yep. And I like this recipe because you don't have to fluff around with corn flour and stuff. Most of the lemon tarts you make will have corn flour and less eggs, but they often have corn flour in to help with the thickening of it.
Mm. It's a hard one. You've got to have thin pastry that's crisp, and you have to have the filling that's set.
Yep. And I cook, everything gets cooked in this stove on top of a pizza stone, so that you get good heat in it, and you're not just relying on the heat of the oven. The pizza stone heats up. All my bread gets cooked on the pizza stone. Out in there, Weber, we've got another piece of marble slab that we used to make a chocolate mud cake. We used to make a Mississippi mud cake that had a kilo of chocolate by the time we finished it. So it had chocolate in it, chocolate on it, and then we'd temper chocolate on this marble slab and curl it and stack it up on top of it. And that's what that marble slab used to get used for. Now it gets used in the Weber, so that if we're cooking meat and stuff, you're not cooking on direct heat, you're cooking on the marble that's heated up, the stone that's heated up. And you can just use a piece of terracotta. If you can find a terracotta tile, you can just use that. I just used the pizza stone because it was a gift from my daughter-in-law for one Christmas. So it's a good way of cooking because you can turn something off and you know that will hold the heat in it. So, you can keep your meat, even if you wanted to. My meat always rests when I've roasted it. So I wrap it in foil and you can put the pizza stone on top of the bench on one of these and then stick the tray on top of it. You know that'll help keep it warm while resting it at the same time. So they're great. And they take ages to cool down. But you could also burn yourself if you're not careful.
Yeah, many times.
Yes. Yeah, when you're cooking a lot. My hands are quite soft now. I used to have a big callus through that I got rid of, but I used to be able to pick really hot stuff up with my hands. But now that I'm not in the trade, your hands, I'm not used to it anymore, so I use a cloth. Well, when I remember. There has been days where I've forgotten. Yeah. Yeah.
How long does it keep for?
Oh, we ate ours over 2 nights. We just cut a small piece each. So you can't put it in the fridge. Well, you could, but the pastry would go soggy. Oh, I took a piece in when we were recording, didn't I? Did you guys get a piece each, Sarah and Sean? Yeah. So there was enough for the 4 of us to have it twice, and for Sean and Sarah to get a piece each as well. I popped
That's
some of them up. Yeah.
What size was the flan tin?
Oh, yeah. The only one I'll get.
Well, I mean, it's important. It could be 8 inches, it could be 9 inches, it could be 10 inches.
Yeah.
Probably 9. That's it. 8. Not very big for 8.
Chris, you've got to do centimetres.
All right, 20 centimetres or 23. I think.
I do centimetres now. Yes. Yeah.
Oh. That big, 280 mil.
28
80 millimetres.
20 millimetres.
What is it?
20 centimetres.
20 mil. 20 centimetres. So it's an 18 inch.
280. So 28.
28 centimetres. So that's
28 centimetres.
That's 14. 14 inch, 28 centimetres. Yeah.
No, it's 30 centimetres is 12 inches.
Yeah.
Well, what's 28 centimetres then? About 11 and a half. 11.
11.
Yeah.
Well, they don't come in 11. They come in
No.
20, 23, 28 centimetres. Wait till it comes out and we'll measure it properly. And could you get an inch ruler, please?
That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 30 of them.
Well, people still ask for babies' lengths and inches.
Yeah, just routine.
Mothers and grandmothers and
Yep.
aunties.
Say that again, Rihanna.
I said people still ask for their babies' length in inches because grandmothers and aunties and people wanted in inches, not centimetres. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. And pounds and ounces, not kilos.
Yeah, we live in the real world.
It's what we're used to. It'll change completely in 10 years.
Well, I convert distance from k's back to miles because it makes more sense to me. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah. And speed limits.
I don't know. There's nothing worse than waiting, Peter.
Well, there's losing a thumb or losing a finger.
There are things worse than waiting, yes.
We're not waiting there.
No, they're gone.
Somewhat busy.
Oh, who was making the carrot and almond strudel recently? Was going to?
I did.
And Jeanette did too.
Good. Kids loved it.
Yep.
Jeanette, you're muted.
My friend who's got cancer loves it, absolutely loves it. So it's a go-to recipe for her. So thank you.
Yep. I've made it before with phyllo pastry, but the only reason I don't use it is because it's a bit more fiddly and you need about 8 sheets. So by the time you butter each sheet, then you just go, oh, forget it, you lose interest. So that's puff pastry. I used to go to my baker and buy puff pastry. We had a baker where I could ring them and say, I want to buy a kilo of puff pastry. But now I just go to the supermarket and get the sheets of it.
Yeah, it's easy enough.
But I don't like it sitting in the freezer too long either. It doesn't last.
No, it's free.
Especially if you don't prep it properly and put it back in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it goes harder.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I will have to go at making it one day. I just can't be bothered too much. It's a lot of butter too and a lot of work. And then of course you've got to use it. You know, so you find yourself making things that you probably shouldn't.
How are you, Janet?
Yeah.
That's a lot, man.
I should go and get you. Just give me a minute. I'll be right back.
Janet Jenkins, how'd you go?
Good, thank you.
That's good. That's good.
Except I've got a black eye.
What? Oh, what did they do to you? Who hit you?
Nothing through the mirror.
The anaesthetist hit a blood vessel,
Oh.
Oh, God.
but it doesn't feel sore. It just looks.
No.
It looks
It
Oh,
looks
like
like
you've been in a brawl.
I reckon it looks good.
Oh, do you?
Just walk around without your glasses, get the full
Well, I
impact.
can. I'm finding it difficult to glasses.
Janet Jones Roberts, you're muted.
There we go. Oh, there we go. I'm unmuted now.
Yeah.
Did you have surgery on your eye?
Sarah,
Yes.
thank you for that beautiful card.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, it was beautiful. I got
I
it.
particularly like those because writing the card doesn't ruin it.
Yes, yes, it was really lovely. Thank
And we
you.
don't have mentions. That's all we have because she never gave us any information about the appliances. Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Whoever's got Judge Judy on, can you mute it?
I wonder who that would be. He loves it.
Hi, Olwen.
Hi.
Hi.
Olwen.
Yep. Hi, Bev.
I can
Oh,
only
what?
see Rhiannon's ceiling and a head.
yeah.
I haven't got Rhiannon.
What did you go get, Bubba?
This is one of my textbooks from when I was at school. It's called the Herring's Dictionary. And it's all that is recipes, but no methods. So when you open it and you read something, you've been expected to know how to make it rather than no methods in there whatsoever. It's all just list of ingredients for a recipe, all French recipe in English, and you just are expected to know how to put it together. That was fun. You can do it now.
Yeah, Tony's got something like that, Bubba.
Yeah.
Tony Williams, he's got a book with all just the ingredients and you're supposed to know what to do.
Yeah. You need to adjust your camera.
Where's my camera?
I don't know whether any of you remember, there was a famous restaurant in Melbourne. It's closed now. Trying to think of it. Two Faces. Who remembers Two Faces restaurant?
Yeah.
I've heard of it.
Yeah. Well, I worked at a French restaurant that's now closed. I contacted the owners when I got back down here and they were just selling it. It was in Hughesdale, called Dinars. And I worked with a British chef who was trained, who was one of the head chefs at Two Faces when it was open. So that was a great experience working with him. They were really he was far more up the tree than I ever was. I never wanted to get, I was more interested in rustic food. I like the idea of French, but it is a bit wanky, to be honest with you. Some of it, what we see, the traditional French, is completely different to what we consider classic French. So having got family that have lived in France and I've cooked in Marseille, that's my claim to fame.
Well, that's pretty good.
That'll be so nice. Seafood.
Mafia territory. Not that I said that out loud. Yeah, I prefer, I prefer more rustic stuff. I'm journeying with a young guy at the moment who I help mentor. He reminded me the other day when I went and saw him. He's 38 and been diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, never smoked in his life. So they can't cure him, they can only help him manage. And so he asked if I could go and catch up with him. So Ruth and I get on really well with him and wife and his little son. But I mentored him when I first came to Melbourne and tried to talk him out of taking a career up in cooking. He reminded me of that the other day. He said, you tried to talk me out of it. I said, yeah, well, we tried to talk our son out of youth work because there's no money in it. And he never listened to us, so why would you listen to us? He's a great chef. He's worked in some of the finest restaurants in Melbourne, but he's out of it now. He's had enough. He was forced out. He lost his job with COVID, and his wife, who was running a pub, has gone back into web design, and she picked up 12 months' work in 3 weeks.
Oh, is anybody else?
So he does all the photography for it now. So he got a grant, got great photography gear. So while he's working through what all the treatments will mean and what they're going to be able to do, but he's got out of the kitchen. So yeah, but look, I've really enjoyed it. But I just enjoy doing what I do now. I've been offered a job down on De Grave Street at the Quarter Cafe. I just laughed.
Take it.
Yeah, no. Well, no.
Haven't you received a letter yet, Peter?
No, but the mail is slow out here.
Yes.
I'll tell you what,
It's slow.
I've had a couple of speeding fines over the break, and seriously, I've put in letters because I had one less than 2 years ago. I can't claim, but I transferred one over to Ruth, and she can. I'm having to take photos of when I post the letters because they're claiming they're not getting them. So now I take a photo of the envelope and I take a photo of it as I'm popping it into the letterbox. Like, it's seriously out of control.
Yeah.
And I know there's lots of mail around, but this was happening. They've made major cuts in Australia Post. And I know it's been difficult, but parcels aren't having most parcels aren't having any trouble. I sent a CD to a mate out in Healesville. In the packaging that it came from in JB Hi-Fi, the contents were missing, and it was posted in his post office box, and the post office denied doing it. They say that it can't possibly happen. It wouldn't have possibly happened. And because he went straight from the post box into the post office and said, this is empty. And they go, well, we wouldn't have posted it in the post box like that. And I seriously, trying to get Australia Post to deal with it is so painful.
Yeah.
You just want to give up.
You're right about the parcels, because I sent one last Friday and it reached its destination on Monday.
Yeah.
Whereas letters are taking forever.
That's where the money is. You see, COVID means that people have gone back to letter writing. So the system, they've changed the way the system's geared to deal with postage, with that sort of postage rather. But even people, we're part of the West group out here on Facebook, and we've got people with parcels turning up to their front doorstep that don't belong to them, that belong to a completely different address. And they're just saying, we've got a parcel here, and they put a person's name. If you're that person, private message me and you can come and pick it up. Or they're getting messages from Australia Post to say their parcel's been delivered and it hasn't turned up. So
there's also a lot of fraud where people are saying, you've got a parcel that's coming, come give me this information so I can deliver it.
Yeah. Which they never asked for.
Is that supposed to cook for 22.5 minutes?
Gee, thanks.
No problems, mate.
If you had just gone beep, that would have been helpful.
Okay, sorry, beep.
Have a wobble in the middle.
It'll be burnt.
There it is.
Yeah.
No wobble, just perfect. Oh, and the rind in it, the zest in it looks really good. And now just put some cocaine on it.
That'll be tasty.
Oh, you forget about
Line
eating
us up.
Wow.
Whatever it is in, it's 280 millimetres.
Oh,
hello to the Bubba.
Say that again?
Now.
Sorry?
I'm saying hello, Bubba. Hi.
Hi.
Who said hi?
Hello.
Oh, hello. Oh, hello. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's all good. How is everyone?
We're all just dandy.
We're all hunky-dory.
Sounds lovely. What are you guys making apart from cocaine-infused tart?
Lemon and lime tart.
Siobhan,